YouTube, what's good? See you later, gaming here. Welcome back to another episode of the Game Lounge podcast. This time for February 2024. Rocking with me, as always, is my twin co-host with the most. Can I get an opening statement, Eenaa?
Deja vu.
Deja vu. Yeah, I think I'll stick with that for mine too. All right, kicking us off with the game releases for March 2024. We've got Thaumaturge. Fuck that up again. WWE 2K24. Unicorn Overload, GYLT, Alone in the Dark, Princess Peach Showtime, Dragon's Dogma 2, Rise of the Ronin, The Legend of Legacy HD Remastered, South Park Snow Day, and Prison Architect 2. Bit of a slower month compared to February, and I guess other months coming up, but is there anything here that tickles your fancy?
Wow, I really feel like I've said this before, but Dragon's Dogma 2, sequel to the cult classic Dragon's Dogma, a very interesting Japanese RPG made by Capcom, which is kind of like definitely like more brutal in its like RPG mechanics. Like you are very much like a kind of like a piece of paper, and the game requires a lot from you as a player to like not get destroyed. Like you have to kind of actually focus on positioning and using, appropriate equipment, but also knowing when to go in and to enter or not engage in battle. It was that game that probably people have seen a bit of gameplay for, the original, where you could like climb massive ogres and stuff, like Shadow of the Colossus. It kind of has a system like that built into it where you can kind of climb anything that's bigger than you. And yeah, the sequel looks awesome, man. IGN have been doing some previews for it for like some classes and stuff like that.
Yep.
One of them being like a 420 Blazer character where they're just throwing smoke everywhere and making fake floors and fake walls, which is pretty cool.
Love that.
Very interesting. But yeah, Dragon's Dogma 2 definitely is piquing my interest because I really liked the first one, and I mean it's Capcom, so it's going to be good. Absolutely. Also, Princess Peach. Princess Peach kind of looks epic, to be honest.
Yep.
I really like that they're going with this whole like she's doing multiple like roles. Like it's kind of like a bunch of like mini games like leading through like this kind of narrative where she is like her own savior, which is kind of cool. And yeah, I'm kind of like digging the fact that we're finally getting a Peach game after the last one released on Nintendo DS.
Ages ago.
This is the first and only Peach game from memory.
Yep.
So it's been a while, but she's finally getting her own one.
Yeah, like 15 or 16 years, something crazy like that.
Yeah,
Insane.
something nuts like that. And then like Rise of the Ronin's interesting because it's Team Ninja, but I think I'm nearly the end of the whole Ronin era of Japan thing. I think I'm nearly over the we be in Japan in like the Edo period.
Yep.
Like I think I probably got like one more in me before I need like a really big several year break of Japanese themed games.
Yep.
Which means sorry Assassin's Creed Red, but you were way too late to put that game out. I probably won't be grabbing the Japanese version of Assassin's Creed, even though that's what we asked for since like the original trilogy.
Yep.
So I'll probably, I don't know, like, I think if I can probably pick up Rise of Ronin maybe a bit later. For those who don't know, it looks like it's kind of like going to be an open world game set in feudal Japan, with heavy emphasis on fast-paced combat. So it's more... A lot of people are like, oh, it's like Souls, but I'm like, it's really not. It's kind of looks a lot more like, honestly, like a bit of a fusion between Devil May Cry and Ninja Gaiden. It looks much faster than Souls. So looks cool. But those are probably the three I'm most interested in. What about you, man? What are you looking at?
I think on this list for me, it's kind of just Rise of the Ronin. I think for me, I'm not as burnt out on the Japan themed games yet. Like, obviously,
Okay.
there have been a bunch that have come out and sort of in that setting, but the only ones that I've really played are Ghost. I skipped
Mhm.
Like a Dragon. I skipped.
Mhm.
What else did I skip? Neo?
Yeah, Neo. Yep,
So,
correct.
the only other one I played was Trek to Yomi, but that was a very different style of game in terms of the
Mhm.
Japan style. So I think for me, it's not as burnt out yet. I want to still see a little bit more gameplay. Like, obviously, we know it's pretty fast paced and looks pretty intense. The fight scenes, from what we saw in the last state of play, were pretty crazy. So I want to know if, like, for me, it's going to be fine to jump in, or if it's going to be too intense Souls-like style. It is one that I'm interested in, but I want to get more of, like, a gameplay review towards the end of the month from your average user. So, yes,
Yeah.
kind of going to hold off on that one. Everything else,
Yeah.
Princess Peach Showtime is interesting, but I like, and again, I love the, like, heroine type leader and taking down the, man, I did a full video essay on this one for top 5, and I can't even think of, like, the grape bunch.
The Grape Bunch?
Yeah, that's like the name of the bad guys in this game. It's true. Come on,
I know,
dude.
I believe you, but holy shit, they really cooked on that one. All right, the Grape Bunch.
No, I need.
Personally, my biggest enemy is the Brady Bunch, so I'm looking forward to fighting them. So,
The grape and the sour bunch.
oh,
Yes.
okay.
It was not grape bunch, grape and the sour bunch. Jesus.
Yeah, right.
Really cooked that one.
Hell yeah.
Um,
Awesome.
yeah, God. Okay, well, I think to avoid me hemorrhaging this anymore, we'll move into what we've been playing. I'll kick us off this month. I've been playing a couple of things, but kind of on the same trend of what I've been playing previously. So, Avatar PS5. Man, I was really enjoying this one, and it's now gotten to the point where it's just open world slog, where it's like, you think there's a lot of bases when you look at the map, and then you uncover the fact that there's another base and another base and another base, and it just becomes rinse and repeat in that style. Like, it's just gameplay loop. Defeat the base, collect the collectible. Very Ubisoft, very Far Cry in that style of gameplay, and not as much of a fan of it as I was at the beginning. Because now it's like I'm running into bases and I'm not even trying to fight. I'm just trying to be bullet sponge and destroy the base, essentially. Because there's just so many.
So are you trying to plat this one?
Yeah, I think I've gotten to the point now where it's like, I've got 50% of the trophies. I haven't completed the main story yet, but I'm on the last quest, so...
Right.
But I'm doing more map clear out at the moment. So it's like, okay, do this.
So how many hours have you played before you've kind of hit this saturation point where you're like, I'm really not feeling this anymore?
I think I'm like 30 hours in gameplay.
That's not an incredibly long amount of time to hit a saturation point. So it's really just waning, huh?
There you go. I just checked my app. It's 30. I'm sitting at 31 hours. So, and on top of that, you've got like random forageables that you've got to collect throughout the universe. And it's really difficult to work out where these forageables are. So it's like you need to... Essentially, there's the different clans around the world. And there's these little micro bases that are basically copy-paste of... They'll make one template and then they'll just copy paste that template around, so there's no difference to it. There's no quests at these mini bases. It's just donate something, basically. That each of these places want a different item that can only be found in certain places, and so I'm ending up having to look up like guides for where to find this, and then they want it at like a certain quality level. So there's like 4 levels of quality from like green, purple, pink, like green, purple, gold, blue, sort of like the following video game trend. And it's like, man, this is so annoying, because it's like they'll want gold ones, which are just impossible to find. And so I'm left going, okay, well, this is shit. I'll just leave this until endgame. But it's one of the requirements for the trophies.
Oh, Lord.
So I've got one that was like a quest from the very beginning of the game, but it's still sitting with me.
Okay, so So it's not going to be a great game, probably from the perspective of a trophy hunter. Now,
Yeah.
if you were to say that if a regular gamer
Mm.
who doesn't mind Far Cry games just fucking beelined the story and maybe did some side quests with some of these blue people,
Hmm.
do you think they would have a good time?
I reckon so. Like, if you were just main quest crunching it, that's
Mm-hmm.
fine. Like, you need to.
Yep.
The other thing is that levels throughout the game are associated to the gear that you hold, not necessarily through quest completion. So some of these quests give you no levels or no skill points or anything out of it. So some of them are just like, okay, you completed it for the sake of completing it.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's like you need to be,
Oh.
and there's some main quests that tie into being like a set level. So you've got to have either enough gear, and the way that you get gear is through those contributions for community baskets or things like that, which you then get clan favor essentially, which is your currency to then buy things.
I'm not gonna lie to you, Chief. That sounds fucking terrible. Yeah, okay. All right. Hell yeah, baby. That sounds like a good one that I will never touch with a 10-foot pole. Thank you,
Yeah.
Ubisoft. Very cool.
Yeah, it was one of those things that I was kind of keen on diving into when I first got it, and obviously with my girlfriend giving it to me as a Christmas gift, I was kind of like, well, I have to be kind of engaged with this.
Yep.
But now I've kind of dropped off a cliff in terms of engagement with it. So that's where I'm at with that. So to fill the time outside of that, I've been filling it in with some just casual Fortnite. You know, it's something that I can hop on and just do the weekly quests. They've got like some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles quests to get some emotes and bling, back blings and that whatever through their collaborations. And then a bit of old school RuneScape, which I had my account. I found one of them which I was able to recover. To be honest, not worth recovering. It was like level 30 wood chopping and level 30 fire, and that was it. So to really kickstart myself, I got myself a month of membership, and have just been like grinding out the quests on that so that I can go back to free to play and be kind of OP skill level from that front.
I see.
Yeah.
How in your opinion, old school RuneScape hold up?
Old school RuneScape holds up phenomenally well. Surprisingly, there's some things that are still very old school RuneScape about it, like the chunk loading in terms of the map. So like you'll look at your minimap and it'll be portioned off into the set grids and it'll be black and it'll do that like quick load to load in the next section.
Is it not the actual old game itself?
I actually think
a fake version of the old game.
I'm not sure if it's an emulated version or if it's still running on the old engine. I know that they were doing a new remake of it, but I don't know if I'm playing on that because it plays very much like the old school game.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like the graphics are still low res and cubey as ever. But yeah, pretty fantastic game still after all this time because I started playing this when I was 8-9 years old.
Yeah.
And now here I am 20 years later still playing it.
I think that's a lot of RuneScape people.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah, it's kind of like come back into the cultural zeitgeist amongst a lot of people. Just picking it up for a little bit. Because that's the thing, you can jump in and out as you please and do whatever you want to do, whether it's leveling up, which is grindy as all hell, or doing missions, or yeah, whatever you feel like doing. There's a lot of depth to it, I will say. That's one thing that has, I think, held up the most is how much they've managed to fit into it.
Yeah, right.
For a game as old as it is. Yeah. What about you? What have you been playing?
Oh, look, let me tell you something, brother. The only good kind of bug is a dead bug. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I have been playing Helldivers with my fellow Helldivers, or at least attempting to play Helldivers with my fellow Helldivers. We'll get
server issues going.
Yeah, we'll get it obviously a bit more in depth with Helldivers and its success in a bit. But yeah, man, Helldivers it's a good time. It's a very good time if you can get in and actually play the video game. It's just another one of these comedy-based video games. Like, you can't convince me it's a third-person shooter. You can't convince me that it is like, based solely on action, co-op action. It's none of that. This is a four-player comedy video game. And it is, bro, I got a trophy the other day for do X activity and then be ragdolling at the end of that activity. I don't remember what the actual trophy is, but I remember exactly how I got this trophy, which was there are these like caves, like holes where like bugs come out of, right?
Yep.
And you can throw a grenade down them to explode them, and then they cave over. And I was like, "Don't worry, guys, I'll be the hero." And I ran in, I threw the grenade, and then I was like, "Shit, I'm really close to this hole. This is gonna fucking destroy me because I've just thrown the grenade down here." And I hit the dolphin dive away, and then it just absolutely sent me across the map, and then I got a trophy for it.
Fantastic.
And I lived, but I just got sent in this massive ragdoll across the map. But yeah, man, what a great video game. The shooting, I don't know how Arrowhead have done it, to be honest, on their like. Obviously, the original Helldivers is a top-down twin-stick shooter. Different. But man, the third-person shooting in this game is like top tier. Yeah. It's probably like some of the best third-person shooting ever in a video game, and from essentially an indie dev, no less. Obviously backed. This game is backed by the money of Sony, but yeah, just super impressive. Super polished, to be honest. I mean, like, besides the server issues, which don't really have much to do with polish, it's more just a capacity issue.
Yes.
But yeah, Helldivers is awesome. If anybody's looking for an awesome, incredible time with your friends, that's really positive, and the community around it is super positive and not toxic. The memes have just been hilarious for this game. Like, it's just unbelievable. But yeah, Helldivers, very good. Would highly recommend. Trying to get my boy Xia here to get a goddamn copy so we can Helldive together. I
reckon I'll be picking a copy up after or during work tomorrow, because we have a big W next door, so I will try and pop in. Absolutely. But it's funny, like, you talk about the trophies. I remember from like the old Helldivers game, the top-down one, where it was a reference to the song Friday by Rebecca Black at the time, but they were like, in a 4-player game on a Friday, have all 4 people sitting in a car or like one of the vehicles at the same time. And I was like, such a weird name or like trophy to get, and such a weird and obscure reference that probably no one would get in the year 2023. But
I've had a look at the trophy list. There is some, they do still have some like pretty cheeky, funny ones in there. Yeah. Like, to be honest, like, they're having fun with some of the trophies. Yeah, for sure. Good. Some of them look brutal. Like, I don't think I'll ever be able to platinum this game. Some of those trophies look crazy, but yeah, definitely a really fun game. People should check it out. And we'll go more into Helldivers later, because it's kind of awesome situation. So yeah. I've been playing Dark Souls 1. I'm decided to, on Tuesdays on twitch.tv/Eenaa, we're playing through Dark Souls 1 to Elden Ring, and we're taking our girl Blixwood, which is lightning spear in Swedish, all the way through the games. Just kind of going through them, because the last time I played all the original Souls games, the trilogy, was at launch for all of them. So I haven't played them in a long time. It's cool revisiting them. Fuck Blighttown. That place is terrible. I forgot how bad it is. I got quickly reminded. But we're doing pretty well. We just got to last night. We got to Anor Londo. And man, I stand on the hill saying Anor Londo is probably in the top 3 locations in video games of all time. It's so outstanding, bro. Yeah, Dark Souls 1, still outstanding. Would recommend. It's aging a little poorly, like, in terms of, in my opinion, of like hitboxes are sometimes really goofy, and animations can sometimes be really goofy. Yeah. So in that regard, I'm like, but like it's still holding up super well, to be honest.
That's good. I guess that's one of the things that happens with like games as they age a bit, but it's not bad. Like, just one of the things that happens, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. And kind of like a sister spawn of these games, I suppose, Liza P. I just dipped my toe in a little bit, just a little dip in there. Played it for probably about maybe 4 or 5 hours, I want to say.
Okay.
Awesome. It's a great Souls-like game. Probably the best one I've played that isn't from FromSoft. Quite easily, I think. And I think if you're a Souls fan, you'll like a lot about Liza P. But it very much stands out on its own. It's got its own thing going on. So, yeah, check that out if you're into Souls games. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown.
Yes.
I have played for probably like 10 hours of this game, maybe 12.
I've been waiting for this review.
Could be a little more, to be honest. I kind of forget. This is a good video game.
Okay.
This is a very good video game. It's by far the best thing I think Ubisoft has put out since Assassin's Creed Black Flag.
Damn.
Probably. It's truly excellent. It is a spectacular Metroidvania game, and I actually think that this is, funnily enough, a direction I want to see Prince of Persia go even more.
Okay.
It's not to say that the 3D games are bad. Obviously, they're like some of the greatest action adventure games from the PS2 era and stuff. But if Ubisoft and like a lot of these big publishers aren't willing to do that stupid thing where they throw like $200 million at the game or they don't think it's worth it, this is like the perfect avenue for Prince of Persia to still like exist. Especially with this team. Because this is the team that made the Child of Light. Is that correct? I could be wrong on that.
Sounds right. I think it is Child of Light. It's either that.
It's one of their smaller teams for sure. And I mean, this is just excellent. The combat is unbelievably deep. Like it's basically a fighting game, genuinely. Like you've got combos, and you can string together combos like you were playing like Marvel versus Capcom 3, where like you're just up to like 114 combo. Like
that's sick.
Like you can keep people fucking stun locked if you know how to do it. The bosses are hard. They're really quite challenging. It's really quite an actual challenging video game, especially the platforming too. I actually think there's a good chance a few people will struggle with this game. Genuinely, it's quite challenging. But the soundtrack is amazing. The voice work is amazing. I actually think the story's pretty decent. Like Ubisoft isn't, I don't think really ever strong with story. The last story I cared about from them was like Assassin's Creed 2 and Ezio's trilogy to see where that man would end up. And this is probably the, like, it's not like a revolutionary story, but it's got a lot of interesting hooks going for it that I don't really want to spoil too much.
Yep.
I haven't beaten the game. Some other things have pulled me away, obviously. But it's definitely, once I kind of have had my fill of the games I'm currently playing, like newer stuff like Helldivers and whatever, I will probably go back to. It'll probably be like a not next month but the month after kind of game to go back to it, I think. But it's definitely a game I do actually want to finish this year. I think I'm like, my PlayStation percent thing, or like the game percent thing, says that I'm 60% of the way through.
Okay.
So, and when we get to that amount, that generally means there's not a whole lot more to go.
Yeah.
Generally speaking. So, I've got a decent way through. But yeah, would highly recommend Prince of Persia to really anyone. It's fantastic. I really hope that this game has done well enough to warrant looking more into these kinds of games. I really hope so, but from what I've heard, I don't think it's done very well, which is sad because it's their best thing and it's not close.
Yeah.
Since Black Flag.
One of the other games that they've worked on is Rayman Legends. So
Yes,
obviously
yes,
one
it's
of the side,
Rayman.
so the side scroller, obviously not same, but same vein of like that 2.5D slash
Oh,
side scrolling 3D
no,
game.
same vein. They get it.
Yeah.
Like, it is the same vein. Like, Rayman is an excellent platformer.
Yes.
Challenging as well. It is absolutely in the same vein, and you can tell the DNA from Rayman is here and that they get it. But I guess the incredible part is that they fundamentally understand how to combine interesting combat, which is not really a Rayman thing, and then put it into this platforming package as well.
Yeah.
Which is why it's really excellent.
Absolutely.
So yes, would highly recommend, whether on sale or not, it is worth your money for sure. And then the last thing that I've been playing that I'll try and just breeze through really quickly is Ready or Not, which is like, okay, so it's a SWAT simulator. And I own about 5 of these things in my Steam library, and these are just like my equivalent of what are Dynasty Warriors.
Yep.
Like, just it's a guilty pleasure style of game for me. I don't know why I really love just breaching doors and then just like screaming at people to get on the ground and like, you know, trying to kill terrorists and whatever.
Yep.
But I mean, this is also an excellent video game. Nearly a comedy game, but a little more serious. But yeah, I mean, it's a SWAT game. It's really brutal. Like, the AI is cracked as hell. So if you like miss your shots, like, you're probably dead. But it's a very good time for those who do enjoy it. I would say maybe I would hold off on full price. The game is like a little bit buggy, and it's like 74 Australian dollars, which is kind of high, or like maybe around 80. I got it on sale for 50, and I'd say that's the sweet spot. If you're looking to get a SWAT video game.
That's not bad. $50 is good.
Mm-hmm.
We can do that. Cool. As we now move on to the major gaming news for March, we'll start off with the first topic, which is Xbox games going multi-platform. So Phil Spencer and I think a couple of news articles have picked up that a couple of these games are going to be going to PlayStation, I believe, and potentially even Switch. So we've got 4 games on the list that have been kind of confirmed. We've got Hi-Fi Rush, Pentiment, Sea of Thieves, and Grounded. There were a couple of other names thrown around, including the new Indiana Jones title, The Great Circle. Garfield, yeah, random one.
No, Starfield.
No, Starfield. They were kind of... Phil kind of dismissed them pretty quickly, but he didn't rule it out as being something that could happen in the future. But for the time being, they'll have their console exclusivity on the Xbox platform. What do we feel about, 1, this lineup of games that have been confirmed, and 2, Xbox now taking more of their games multi-platform?
Okay, so, like, this is just such a classic story of, like, console fanboyism and, like, panic among gamers. Like, there are people whose literal personalities are tied to a plastic box, which is like the saddest thing ever. And when they were hearing that Xbox exclusive games were potentially going to other consoles, they lost their mind. Like, they were like, I can't believe this platform anymore. I'm leaving the Xbox ecosystem. And you're like, okay, brother, relax. Look, personally, I think this is a great idea specifically for these games. I think this is an intelligent move. Number one, Sea of Thieves is essentially a live service. I think in today's ecosystem, it is stupid to keep a live service game that is not multi-platform. Truly. I'm actually shocked, like, Halo Infinite hasn't been announced, to be honest. Because I think live service has... Well, actually, I hear that Infinite is getting moved along much faster to a brand new Halo game, which might explain why.
Yeah.
But, to me, it makes sense that these games specifically, because these are all... I can see them doing well, but, like, they're so, like, niche then you may as well expand them out
Yeah.
to other avenues. Like no one, like I'm sorry, no one is buying an Xbox for Pentiment.
No.
No one is buying an Xbox for Hi-Fi Rush. No one is buying an Xbox for Grounded. Look, don't get me wrong. I love Obsidian. Okay, I would be the weirdo who would buy buy it for, you know, like a Obsidian video game. However, that is not how the general population generally works. Sea of Thieves, maybe, but probably not. So I think when your games are in the category of they are not going to move a console, I don't think there's any harm in moving them to another platform. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm in the same line of thinking. I'm also thinking for these games in particular, they're small enough to where they can be easily ported over to another platform, e.g. a PlayStation or a Nintendo Switch, without the need for too much work. Like, Sea of Thieves, I think, might be the exception there, but again, it's a live service game, so as you say, it kind of makes sense to port that across to anything and everything that can play it, essentially. Like, yeah. And Hi-Fi Rush, I think that would be the next biggest out of the group, but I think that one had a good amount of success off the back of the Game Awards this year. Whilst it's got a little bit of hype behind it, it makes sense for them to now push it out to additional platforms. Grounded and Pentiment, as you say, no one's buying a platform specifically for those games, so it just makes sense to give them a little bit more exposure, because Grounded and Pentiment I don't know as having sold particularly well either.
I think Grounded did okay. I think Grounded was actually fairly successful. Pentiment, I'd be shocked.
Yeah.
Because don't get me wrong, the quality of Pentiment is incredible, but it's incredibly niche.
Yes.
So I imagine the return on investment for Pentiment wasn't astronomically high.
Yeah. So I think this is kind of like another avenue for them to potentially get a bit more juice out of it for very little investment, potentially. And like, obviously, this is a good way to get exposure, because 4 games go multi-platform. It's just 4 additional games that can potentially generate some money for that company.
It's true. And it's just like, dude, imagine, like, I don't know, man. Like, I think it would freak PlayStation fans out that they'd feel like they'd have to buy it. Like, imagine if you see the Sea of Thieves logo pop up on the front page of the Sony store. You're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You're like, what is going on here, man?
Yeah, exactly.
You click into it, you're like, oh shit, I gotta buy. This must be a mistake. Like, I better get a copy of this before they, like, take it down. Like, what is happening here?
100%.
I know for a fact that Hi-Fi Rush and Pentiment will definitely go to Switch. I think the other two might be a bit too intensive. Because Hi-Fi Rush has leaked, like, t-shirts for Chai, like a Switch one and a PlayStation shirt.
Interesting.
So that's definitely going to both platforms. And Pentiment has the art style that it could go to Switch without too much performance hiccups, because it's a pretty low required game in terms of what you need to run it. The other two, they would look blurry if they were to go on that system. So,
agreed. Yeah, so from the perspective of what they've got, it makes sense. In my opinion.
I think so. But yeah, I think this is a good for them to kind of trial it out and see what happens. And I think further down the line we can see more stuff like this, where these smaller games or like even maybe AAAs that just didn't have as much success as they wanted, they're probably just going to be a year exclusive, and then see you later. Over to Sony you go, dude.
Yep.
And like, honestly, I think people are freaking out a bit too much in the Xbox community. Sony, effectively, which we'll also get into later, is just a second-party machine. A lot of games end up on Xbox a year later anyway. So it's like, I don't know. To me, like, I think as long as Xbox has their own few heavy hitters that essentially are the equivalent to Sony's heavy hitters, you know, a la your Starfields and your Halos and whatever, even though I think it makes sense for Halo to go multi-platform with its live service, whatever,
Yep.
or at least maybe the multiplayer of it and the single player can only be on Xbox or something. I still think, you know, if you do have your Halo franchise and your Gears franchise and whatever still on your platform, I think they're fine, to be honest. At the end of the day, Microsoft, I don't know. I think they're really just kind of there for money.
Yeah.
So I think that, you know, on Microsoft's side, not even Xbox's side, Microsoft is like, you guys need to chase the bag. And we don't really care how you do it. Because obviously, this Game Pass thing, you guys need extra income to make this work for us.
For sure. Yeah, especially from like a business perspective. And realistically, like Xbox have come out and said that this hasn't been the best generation for them. So it's another way to help bolster that a little bit more, I guess.
It's so funny too, because I think they are just on the precipice of having Game Pass work, where they finally do have that setup of a AAA game every quarter. They finally gotten there.
They've kind of already gotten there to a degree.
Yeah. Well, last year it was like the beginning. I mean, obviously it doesn't help when Redfall is one of your your quarterly games, but last year was the first year where they hit with a major AAA game every single quarter, or at least like close, a first party launch every single quarter. And it looks like it's going to be that for a while now, which, I mean, Sony hasn't managed to do in a long time. So, yeah. Anyway, but I think it's fine. I think it's cool. I think it's cool that a bunch more people are going to be able to play these very interesting, unique video games, to be honest.
Absolutely. Definitely a big win for the gaming space overall, so we'll take that as a win.
Absolutely.
But I guess moving on from that and into the sadder side of stuff with the... I guess it's sad.
I find this incredibly strange, but yeah.
Yeah. There's a couple of talking points on this one, but Sony Senior Vice President Naomi Matsuoka revealed that looking ahead, PS5 will enter the latter stages of its life cycle. So, obviously, we've got a couple of notes here, but it's crazy to think that only about a year or two ago, you were struggling to find a PlayStation 5 on the shelf.
Correct.
And now they're saying that it's in the latter stages of its life cycle? That's crazy. Like, realistically, in the previous month's podcast, we talked about how they're, struggling for first-party exclusives and more so relying on the second-party, and I guess now Xbox games coming over to their platform. But, man, it's nuts that the senior vice president would come out and say this. Obviously, they're probably banking on the Pro coming out in a year or so, you'd assume? That's crazy. For what has typically been close to almost like an 8 to 10 year... What was the PS3 cycle? It was close to 8 years, right?
Correct. PS3, I think, was the longest.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the Xbox 360 and the PS3 was the longest life cycle.
And now we're coming into the... Okay, so PS3 was 11 years.
Oh, shit.
Insane. PS4's obviously like everything.
It was also a long gen-ish.
Yeah. PS4 was 2013 to 2021, so that's kind of 8 years.
Yep.
And then the PS5 launched in 2020.
But like technically, okay, like if we're going with this though, because I've written some notes below. Technically, the PS4 era is still here, baby. We're still making games for the PS4.
Yeah.
In 2023. Or like 2022. We still have New Horizons on PS4. The new God of War is on PS4. like, there is still games that are going to PS4. The era of PS4 is still not over.
Yeah. I mean, like when... what was it? Horizon Forbidden West launched... they were saying that it was essentially like, we've built it on the PS4's architecture and essentially ported it over.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
So I've got a list here of PS5 only games that have released so far, as we are now about to enter the last stage of its life cycle.
Yeah.
So truly games that are available first party on PS5 is the Demon Souls remake. That's one remake. The Last of Us 1 remake. That's 2 remakes. The Last of Us 2 remaster. A remaster. Spider-Man 2. Okay, a sequel to a game. Destruction All-Stars. All right.
Okay.
Astro's Playroom.
Sure.
Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Returnal. There is 8 video games that are exclusive to the PS5 that are first party.
Yeah, and what, 3 of them are remakes or remasters?
That is correct. Holy.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like, this is... Like, okay. This is also to not throw shade at Sony. I know lots of people probably want to hunt me down for, like, phrasing it in that way. But to be fair, Sony has always been a second-party and third-party machine. Look at the PS2 era, okay? Really, Sony kind of came into their own for first-party in PS4 and, like, late PS3 era. Truthfully. Like, PS2 era, like, that console is so goddamn popular, there's no way that you could see that as a first-party machine. Like, there was so many third-party games for that. It's nuts. Obviously, they do have their games, and, like, a lot of them, but, I mean, crunch also used to be a thing that existed.
Yes.
And not $300 million budgets. But it's concerning that we're entering the latter stage of a console's life cycle, and the only PS5 truly exclusive games, there's 8 of them that are first party.
Yeah.
That aren't also on the PS4.
That's nutty. That's actually insane.
I mean, but does it matter, Xia?
No.
Does it even matter?
No, I mean, look, I think, as you say, Sony's done a really good job with the second party side of things, and it's been enough to sustain them. Obviously, we'll get into it in a second, but the pretty successful launch of Helldivers has been beneficial for them. Obviously, having a good partnership there and it going, yes, it's on PC as well, but in terms of console exclusivity, it's just on the PlayStation. And I mean, for the most part, I think people would think that Arrowhead was a Sony-owned division, if you didn't think otherwise, like, just from their relationship that they've had. But yeah, I don't see it as being hindering in any way to them. I think they've managed to sustain pretty well so far.
Yeah, for sure. I think that they built a lot in PS4 that it's like, even if people looked at the current state of it, they're like, well, I'm already trapped in here. I've already got my digital library in here. I can't really go anywhere else. So, you know, they kind of won the most important era, as Phil keeps saying, and that's true. Yeah. But, I mean, they make good business decisions when it comes to second parties and working with them and locking down exclusives. So, it is still a way to run it. I'm just concerned for their first party output. Like, it's just a bit bone dry to be completely honest.
Yeah.
And the fact that we are now entering the latter part of its life cycle, it's just like how... But I guess it's like, what do they consider to be the latter part? Like, do we have like 2 more years? Do we have 3? Do we have 4? Like, what do they consider to be... Like, what does this mean?
Yeah, it's kind of ambiguous as to what that actual timeline is. But obviously they've thrown... This isn't the first time that... Not the latter stages, but they've thrown around, obviously, PS6 and the future of PlayStation in the past. But yeah, you got to think that they've got at least a couple more first-party titles that are scheduled, at least.
Well, we have Concord for this year. Whatever that is.
Yes.
And then next year, I'm sure we'll probably have more of those live service games that have been in development for a while will probably rear their head, I imagine. So, yeah. I mean, this list of 8 games will hopefully expand, I suppose, by the last couple of years, but it's looking pretty grim for first-party PS5 only at the moment.
I mean, let's rephrase this question. Obviously, you've now got the PS Portal, and you're a PS5 console owner. Do you feel disappointed in your purchase of the product?
I felt so disappointed in the Portal, I returned it.
Oh my god.
It's so bad. It's so bad. Like, I have gigabit internet, and the latency of me pulling the trigger to what happens in game, terrible. Like, I think it'd be fine for maybe turn-based RPGs. If you're playing anything that requires any amount of reaction time, I hated it. I returned it.
Lol.
I thought it was pretty terrible. The games look nice. I just hate 1 second to 2 seconds of delay. So I was like, this is not for me, obviously. I'm not sure who this is for, actually.
Not
but
Australians.
Anyway, not Australians. Yeah, I think we're gonna get a few of those returned.
Okay. Tech aside, though.
Yeah. Tech aside, do I feel the more I think about my PS5 is that effectively looking at the history of the consoles that surround it, the PS5 is gonna, I think, be remembered as the weird, awkward middle child.
Yeah.
Because I think it's in a weird spot where it's like sort of can do 60 frames a second, but then sometimes it can't do 60 and it like drops the image to like 720p sometimes if you want to do that, which is a little strange, which is whatever. And like there's 8 first party games that are made sort of for it. But to be fair, I'm looking at the list of those games, and I imagine most of those could probably run on the PS4. Sure, your PS4 might sound like an engine taking off, but they could probably still do it. Like, I think the PS5 is the weird child, like in the middle. I think the PS6 is where the games are actually going to hit their stride, and there'll be games that are just like solely for the PS6, and like the other ones will finally get left behind.
Well, like timeline-wise, realistically, we'd be looking at like, assuming based on the ones that we've seen to date, Wolverine, potentially like a GTA 6, depending on the timeline.
Wolverine, Venom will probably come out on the PS5, but then you've got there you go, Spider-Man 3, you've got everything Insomniac is working on that leaked list. So we know all of those, but there'll be way more than that, obviously. But in terms of my purchase, I didn't have a PS4, so to me the PS5 is just a PS 4.5. So I just got like a souped up PS4,
well, that's
essentially.
Like, and that's the big benefit of it too, that it was backwards compatible as well. So like you're still able to play everything that you had previously, whereas the PS4 was not backwards compatible to the full extent.
Because of the weird architecture.
Strange.
Yeah, so like I don't regret my PS5 purchase because I didn't have a PS4. But I think if I did have a PS4, I'd be kind of like, well, what's the point of this? Yeah. Like, to play 8 new games, 3 of which are remakes or remasters, with Until Dawn remake coming out
also
this year.
Yeah.
So there'll be another one. So there's 4. So that 4 of the 9 games that will be out, first party, PS5 only. And I can still play Until Dawn on PS4.
Also correct.
So that would make me... I can also play Last of Us 1 on PS4. I can play Last of Us 2 on PS4. So I'm now actually just digging myself a bigger hole here. I think if I had a PS4, I would be pretty pissed with my purchase.
Agreed.
To be honest. But in terms of first party, second party and third party, it's whatever. But what about you? Now you are the Sony man, and you have been the Sony man for a long time. What do you think about your purchase of your PS5? Because you've obviously owned a PS4. So...
Yeah, totally. Like, the PS5 for me came at a pretty perfect time of when my PS4 was starting to not regress, but it was starting to die. So it was kind of a natural tech replacement for me anyway, because I got the PS4 day one. So it had run its course. It's still chugging along, like it still breathes to this day. But like it runs into those issues that you kind of tend to get with old tech. So naturally, like the PS5 was a good purchase for me from a tech perspective. From a games perspective, now looking back at it, a lot of the stuff that I've played has been either backwards compatible PS4 games. PS5 games have been, as we know, few and far between. So like Forbidden West, I've played on the PS5. Last of Us Part 2, I played the PS4 version. And a lot of them have, apart from that, have been second or third party. But the one thing that I have liked about it is the free upgrade from the PS4 version to the PS5 version, should there be one in place. Like, that's been a cool feature of it. And from a tech perspective, it's been great. But from a games perspective, from a first party perspective, which is what people technically or typically buy the console for, there's not much to talk about. Like, yeah, Spider-Man's great. Like, Spider-Man 2 was fun, but as I'd kind of mentioned in previous podcasts, it's not new or innovative when you compare it to Miles Morales and the original Spider-Man. Like, it's very same game. Yes, they expand the map and some of the gameplay features, but realistically, very same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah. Well, we will move on to the, obviously we've talked about it a little bit and hinted at it here and there, but Helldivers has had an absolutely massive launch for Arrowhead, so...
Okay, so this is the funny part, right? PS Plus comes out, right? Start of a new month. They've got fucking... What's that stupid game, Splatoon we have at home?
Oh, Foam Stars.
Thank you so much. They've got Foam Stars on there, and they were like, you know what? Let's just release Helldivers 2 days after. Okay, so like why? Why would you have two multiplayer games, like one being free and then another one that's going to cost you money, like so close to each other? Yeah. I mean, they are inherently different games. I just think that Sony was just like, fuck it, just send them out to die, dude. Like, I actually don't know how much Sony truly believed in this product. I don't think they thought it was going to be this big at all. Like, but who could? Who could think that this game each day is hitting server cap? I literally tried to log in before, couldn't.
Yeah.
It was fucking 3 p.m. Australian time, which means my American Helldivers should be asleep. But they are not. They are not asleep. That's the thing, because it's all about freedom, baby.
Well, that's the thing.
They're out there.
Like, in terms of the server issues, I've seen people who have gone to bed leaving their like PlayStation 5s and Helldivers open to try and queue up while they're asleep.
And that's fucked up, my fellow Helldivers. We should be out there putting new people on the front lines to refresh you. Let them in and let them be a Helldiver to help the cause. You are holding us back against our fucking Terminid and Robo Vietnam brothers, okay? Let us in. Okay, rant over. However, I think that this is by far the most incredible live service launch I have ever seen. Genuinely. And I think it's because Arrowhead have finally taken the learnings of like 8 years of live service, all of them being severely dog shit. All of them. Like, I can't even think of the last live service game that launched that was actually good. Like, in a good state with fair monetization. I genuinely cannot think of the last one that launched. And so Arrowhead studio director, he said two things that I think is extremely important, right? We'll start with this PvP one. Okay, so some Helldivers, these silly little rats, dude, they were like, they want PvP. And the studio head said, Helldivers will not be getting PvP in order to reduce toxic elements from the community. Okay? We want an environment that's supportive, fun, and where we're all fighting on the same side. Okay? I think that makes sense. That's the vision. That is the vision of the game. It is a co-op game for you and your friends. It is not some toxic hellhole where you're going up against other Helldivers, because that's not the vision of the game. That's not the identity of it. Like, it goes against the core concept of what the game is even about.
True.
And then the other incredibly based statement was, you have to earn the right to monetize. I truly believe that. If you want people to support this title, they have an option, but we are never forcing anyone to do so. Okay. Truer words have never been spoken. And I was like, okay, so the thing is, I heard this headline, and at this point, I hadn't looked in the money store. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. All right, I'm going to go in there. And like the fucking store, I bet the armor is like, $20 Australian, dumb. You know how fucking skins these days in Fortnite for a Lamborghini fucking car is like $50 Australian. Yeah. And it's like, oh yeah, sure, man. Go in there, and I'm like looking at these items, and I'm like, yeah, see, that's where they got you. This suit right here, that's 500. It's like 500. Oh, not even 500. It's like 125. I forget the amount. It looks like an amount where you're like, oh yeah, that's gonna be like 20 Australian dollars at least. And then you move over to where you buy super credits, and it's like $5.
Yeah, so reasonable.
And you're like, what the fuck is happening? What do you mean $5? $5 for this whole kit of armor? You're kidding. This is a fucking joke. I don't understand what's happening here. You mean I don't have to give you 4 hours of my workday in money to get a skin or a set of armor? It's unbelievable. I don't think I've ever seen monetization so fair in my life. Like, genuinely. And also, it's not a full price game. It's not a full price. And it's just that respect.
Yeah.
It's respect that you make something good enough, your players will want to support you anyway.
Yeah.
And
agreed.
For some reason, other live service games just disrespect the ever-loving shit out of the customer. And it's like, it's like, I don't know, man. I'm so blown away by Arrowhead's piloting of the situation that they're in. And it's just that they fundamentally know what they want and what their vision is. Their mission statement, by the way, as a company, is a game for everyone is a game for no one. And it's so true, because a lot of live service games just try to appeal to the absolute mass, as far wide as you can go. And then look at these games that are trying to be so broad, and then they keep no one. They just die. And whereas Helldivers knows exactly what it wants to be, it knows the monetization model it wants to go for. It's saying, hell no, we're not about PvP. We are a PvE game. That is what this is about.
Yeah.
And I feel like that, plus it just being a genuinely good game, is why they are currently maxing server capacity every single day. At 400k concurrent on Steam alone. We don't even know PS5 numbers.
Well, apparently, I was just looking up in the background sales numbers. Apparently, they've sold 4 million copies according to Steam Spy, which I assume only takes into account PC.
Steam. Yeah, that's just PC. And that's unbelievable.
Yeah, like obviously this game is multi-platform, so the concurrent players is also only taking into account Steam players. So you've also got PlayStation in the mix there as well, which is crazy. Like,
so we could be looking at probably 800k to $1 million, probably.
Yeah, I'd be saying that
online at the same time.
Yeah,
I guess we just don't know the capacity of PS5 servers. I suppose that's the thing, right? Is like we have no idea how many of them can be online at once, because if 4 million copies have sold just on Steam, and we're letting in effectively
10%.
like an entirely tiny number of the people that own it, that is insanity.
Yeah.
But how do you feel about how Helldivers and Arrowhead are handling this insane like success? Like, did you think that this game was going to be as massive as it is either?
God, no. I think we'd been talking about it after the state of plays and that sort of thing, and going, oh yeah, this is going to be a cool game that's going to get a couple of sales and, you know, going to be one of the staple games within Sony's roster. And that if everything goes well, Sony might sign a deal with Arrowhead to acquire them. Man, if they don't sign that deal, if there's something on the table, like Arrowhead have just put their price up tenfold.
Well, I think that deal is up.
Yeah.
I think that deal is very, very up.
Well, like, obviously Sony's published this game and done reaping rewards from this. But
yeah, 100%.
No way did I assume that this game was going to do that well. Because I think at the time we were looking at Helldivers 1 sales and how much that launched at. And then obviously this one's now come out in a completely different style. So using the same branding of the Helldivers title, but a completely different branding. Yep. Man, that's crazy. Like, this could realistically be, if they play their cards right, Sony's shooter of the future. We'd been talking about them not having one for the longest time. This one, you've now come out and said has the great mechanics and is a good third-person shooter.
And first person.
And
you can swap in the first.
Well, then
it feels good. Like the guns. How do I explain this? The guns have like inertia. So like when you turn your body, the guns don't instantly snap. They come later, depending on the weight of the gun.
Yeah.
So it actually feels weighty and punchy. So
that's sick.
First and third, which is awesome.
So
yeah, sorry, continue your point.
Like this could easily then, obviously it's a live service game, so meant to carry on for however long, but you know, they could expand this with, sure, they're not really going for that PvP mode, but they might expand it into more single player or campaign-esque developments. As we know, Helldivers 1 had a bunch of DLC that launched after the fact, so, you know, it's not to say that they might not do that in the future. It's a good, like, expansion point for them, and if they continue on with this, it could be really good for them.
Like, the only thing I'm slightly worried about is, like, they've already, you know, gone to social medias and news outlets and whatever, and they've been like, hey, we're expanding because we need to expand more. We need to get more people and we need to expand. And I'm like, just relax.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, it's like, I understand the success right now is it's actually insane. Like, it's mental. Like, I don't know, man, like 4 million copies on PC alone, you have to probably think PS5 did at least the same. At least. So you're looking at like 8 million, probably to 10 million potential units of this game sold. And it's like, I understand right now your servers are always at peak capacity, but like, maybe just like hit the brakes a little. Don't like overexpand, because that's been the death end of so many studios, especially over the COVID time, right? Like, I believe for sure they should do some expansion, because they're like, oh man, we need to get
wave.
more content going, and it's like 100%. But in theory, this game, like they say, a game for everyone is a game for no one. This game is niche. It is for a select group of people. So right now, you're still seeing the wave of people being like, oh, this is fun. But eventually those people will probably leave. And your servers probably won't always be at max capacity. So it's like, just don't overexpand too quickly, I think. Like, definitely, probably hire on maybe at least, like, you know, maybe 10 more people, you know, to 20, but don't fucking go, we need another studio. Like, let's not just grab like another random 100 people to throw in this, because I think that's just going to lead to disaster when the game starts to hit its mature states, you know?
Yeah. But like, to add to the point, I'm so impressed at like how well this game's done with and I'm going to say this, I haven't seen much marketing for it. I don't know if I've got like game marketing blindness or just marketing blindness in general, but
No.
there
I
hasn't
think
been a lot behind it, but everyone's kind of jumped on it.
I feel like Sony sent this game out to die.
Yeah.
Like I've seen absolutely zero marketing of this game besides obviously like the state of plays.
Yes.
Where they showed 2-minute gameplay demonstrations of it. But like I really feel like marketing wise they sent this game out to fucking die. I really don't think they thought they had that much of a winner, to be honest. Like genuinely, which is fair. Because I also didn't think this game would be hitting server capacity. I thought it would do reasonably well, you know? But not this well. This is crazy. Like, these are crazy numbers. And,
Yeah.
I mean, when we compare it to this next game, when you think about, like, essentially what is a indie studio, truthfully, that has calypsed the living shit out of this next game, I mean, it's like actually a remarkable feat.
Yeah.
Like, it's nuts.
So that next game in question is Suicide Squad. So, I mean, we had low expectations for this one going into it, but man, did we set the bar low, too high. Yeah, so obviously the press around this one hasn't been great. Obviously, a lot of people coming out and saying that, you know, it's a game. It's launched.
It's one of the games of all time. It is like the nicest thing I've heard about Suicide Squad.
Yeah. Obviously, I've watched a couple of people play this game and talk about it in depth. Like one of the guys who I watched was the Black Hokage, who was kind of talking about how, you know, this game has now launched, but there were a couple of warning signs in the lead up, like they didn't send out any copies to press. They were kind of not talking to people like IGN, obviously, because they'd given it a bit of negative press even before the game had launched, or in its first wave after its announcement, and kind of wrote it off initially. And then obviously IGN took that and wrote even more negative press about the game for not getting review copies. So, yeah, like, I don't know if it's just they didn't get the right people of the press on their side, or if it's just been, like, from gameplay-wise, the people who I've watched have said, yes, there are fun moments, but obviously you get caught up in that gameplay loop where it's very same after a little bit, and it's not that exciting.
And 3 of the exact same. The end game is 3 missions that don't change.
Yeah, exactly.
Make it make sense.
So yeah, obviously pretty disappointing. From a studio that came out with the Batman Arkham series, you'd expect something to be a little bit better.
Yeah. Like, I mean, and like when we're comparing this to like Steam's highest concurrent play count at launch was 15,000 people.
Yeah, compared to Helldivers 2, which is at 400,
It's at 400.
and is limited by server capacity.
And is limited by server capacity. Like, imagine if they had slots for like up to 1 million. Like, I would not be shocked if I saw 800,000 people concurrently playing Helldivers.
Yeah,
on Steam. I wouldn't be shocked. And this game hit 15,000, cost probably, I don't know, like a magnitude more money to develop. Like,
fortune.
An insane amount more than Helldivers 2. Like, would have eclipsed the budget by probably, 100 times over. I imagine. Like, but funnily enough, though, both been in development for like 8 years.
Yeah.
So that is funny, but like, and now the game is sitting at maybe 1,000 players a day on Steam.
Very low.
And I don't know how many more would be on console. Like, I guess look, this is the thing with console, right? We can never tell. Like, maybe it is popping off in console still, and we don't know. But usually Steam is a pretty good indicator for general popularity.
Yeah.
And oh man, this thing, this thing is not doing well. And it's just another cautionary tale of greedy, massive studios led by suits who are like, yeah, this live service thing, man, this is the wave. Let's get on it. Fucking, and the thing is though, they've already the microtransactions that are already in there. They're like they're like $30 for a Harley Quinn costume. Like what?
Yeah, that's crazy.
like what are we doing here? Like $30-$40 for a skin? Like, it's just so archaic that the same fucking companies are making the same mistakes over and over and over again when it comes to these live service games. They are shallow and the monetization is insanity at full price. I just can't believe that this is still happening. Like, how have we learned nothing? I don't.
Yeah.
But are you ever interested in playing this game? Like, ever?
No, probably not. Like, I mean, yeah, it's not one of those games that I was necessarily excited for before it launched, and now obviously, yeah, negative press probably doesn't do the best job at selling it in. But yeah, I'm 50-50 on superhero games, and I mean, obviously less so with the roster of characters that they had. I mean, we spoke about this too in the previous podcast, but there's so many things in this that have not worked out for it. Obviously, members of the company have left. The roster's not been great. The pushbacks haven't been great. Microtransactions never help. Yeah, so there's a lot that's not necessarily worked out for it, which is sad. I mean, kudos to the people who are out there enjoying it and live strong and play, but
yeah,
good
for you guys, man.
Yeah, good for you guys.
Hope you're enjoying the $40 skins. You deserve that.
The strong few.
Absolutely.
Moving on to the next topic, we've got the Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree expansion gameplay showcase tomorrow.
Let's go, baby! It's about time!
Only a year and a bit to release some DLC.
Oh my god! Bro, we are bogging. Bro, the comments in the Twitter post from the Elden Ring Twitter is going crazy, dude.
I'm sure.
It's going nuts. It's like there's about 800 gifs of Michael telling everyone to stay calm from the office. So that's how you know everyone's freaking out, man.
Yeah, it seems like it's so late that it's come into the picture, but you'd almost think that this would have dropped closer to when they won the Game Awards, but I mean,
oh man, just
people are gonna come back and play no matter what, it seems.
Oh bro, let them cook. It's funny because this is probably the best thing I played this year. That I've already platinumed Elden Ring and beaten it already again this year, and it will still be probably the best thing that I played this year. I am so stoked that we finally get a look at the expansion. I don't know, man. I think that year they've just been cooking. I think this is going to be a gigantic expansion, like in a similar vein to like a Blood and Wine in terms of like size, right? Like I think this is going to be gigantic, which is really cool. I mean, damn, like, yeah, I'm just excited. Like, so with this expansion hype and bringing Elden Ring back into the conversation, is my man ever gonna play Elden Ring?
Man, Souls-like games are really difficult for me. I'm not just being like Spud Gamer, like, I'm a gaming loser who can't do it, but I don't know, I've never really gotten into that genre of game. I
promise you, Elden Ring is the one. I promise you, it is the one to enter in.
We'll have a think about it.
Let me sell you real quick.
Okay.
Okay.
Elevator pitch for anyone else who's out there as well. Here we go.
If you suck at fighting a boss, you can fuck off and go adventuring and become stronger and then come back. Because it's open world, you can just go, nah, this boss is destroying me. I'll come back and destroy you in about 10 hours. See you later.
Sounds like the issue I'm having with Avatar at the moment.
No. Very different. There is none of that bullshit. There is no like, we're not doing map markers, bro. It is genuine adventuring. You are looking at things and going, I want to go there. What is actually over here? You know? It is not holding your hand in that sense. And I promise you, it is by far the most accessible and easiest From Software game of all time. I'll give you a freebie. Mage.
Yes.
Play Mage.
You did say play Mage. So I don't know. We'll think about it. We'll see how it goes. Once the backlog's cleared out. Let me get Helldivers first, bro. You're getting me on too many games at once.
I gotta put you on. That's my responsibility as the guy who plays like 18 games on rotation.
Yes, that's true.
I gotta put you on.
It would be irresponsible if you didn't.
It would be irresponsible if the game of the decade did not get played by the PlayStation gamer of 2023.
Very true. Very true. All right. Well, we'll see how we go.
Oh.
I'll let you know. All right.
All right.
Moving on to the next piece of of news. Bungie looks to be in trouble. So we've got a bit of an excerpt here that will...
So we've yoinked this straight from PC Gamer, but I thought that this was an interesting piece of news to go over, because as we know, Bungie is now the very strange stepchild of Sony, probably the weirdest purchase they've ever made, and it's really looking like a strange one now. Okay, so this is straight from PC Gamer. So a December 2023 report said Destiny 2 players have declined dramatically, while revenues was said to be running 45% below projections. That's a big number. We'll come back to that one later. Morale at the studio was also said to be in bad shape following the layoffs in October. Yeah, no shit. Bungie was also reportedly facing the possibility of a full takeover by Sony, ending its functional independence. So in regards to that, there's a board of directors at Bungie, which are like the original leaders of the company, and then they've got Sony on the outside looking in, and if they didn't hit correct, KPIs, see you later. We're taking over. Totoki, who's like one of the senior heads of Sony games, blah blah blah, comments aren't likely to quell those concerns. He began addressing the situation at Sony Interactive Entertainment in general, saying employees have a solid understanding of their individual roles and responsibility, but don't necessarily understand how their respective efforts tie into overall growth, sustainable profit generation, and higher margins. By providing everyone involved with highly transparent descriptions of the company and industry conditions, as well as analyst views, I would like to encourage them to come to their own realizations, Totoki said. This will get everyone in the business on the same page. Then I would like them to consider what we need to do toward our major objectives. Essentially saying, these motherfuckers better read everything we're writing to them, because we need them to come to the realizations that they can't just fucking make up funny numbers and put them on a page anymore, or we're going to be up in their shit.
It's basically fall into line and do your job.
Exactly. And then then he said this specifically about Bungie. I visited the Bungie studios and had meetings with the management, and I saw that employees working in the studios were highly motivated, showing great creativity, as well as an impressive knowledge of live service, he said. However, I also felt that there was room for improvement from a business perspective with regard to areas such as the use of business expenses and assuming accountability for development timelines. I hope to continue the dialogue and come up with some good solutions.
That's
AKA
crazy.
Sounding like, hey, these fuckers have no idea how to actually run a live service, and we are actually up shit's creek.
Yeah.
And we are going to be playing the Spank game or we are going to come in and completely clear house because this management team is way over their head and a lot of this shit has been smoke and mirrors, and we bought under the assumption of smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, I think the Bungie team did the really good sell on this one, because like reading into the Bungie comments specifically, like you can tell that they've been a little bit frugal with the amount of money that they've got, and not necessarily. That's probably why vibes are high, because it seems like the expenses that they've got are pretty good, and they're going out to nice lunches, doing good things, having fun. Whereas they're not necessarily working to their goals and the goals of the company. As we know, with The Last of Us live service game being pulled based off the consultation of Bungie Studios, having been a pivotal part in that live service development. And now I think they're kind of saying, pull your weight and do the job, or yeah, we're going to absorb you into the business.
Well, it's not even absorb. I imagine it will just be Bungie will still remain effectively their own studio, but they'll clean management out, and then they'll just be under direct control of Sony. They obviously own them, but they would just get rid of the management entirely. Yeah. And they would just be like, all right, guys. Yep, these are your deadlines. Enjoy. Yeah. You have real deadlines now. This is your budget. Yeah. There's no such thing as infinite budget. Yeah. Yep. Because you need to produce this amount of margin, etc.
Like based on Totoki's comments, he says that like obviously they've got good creativity and good knowledge of live service, but it's almost seems like they're not implementing that in the best possible way either.
To me, I just read that as that's a shareholder quote that I'm saying. That makes it look like we didn't make a terrible decision buying this business.
Yeah.
Because that is like an incredibly random thing to bring up.
Yeah, it's very odd. It's
as well as impressive knowledge of live service.
Apart from the fact that they're spending a lot of money, they have good knowledge.
Yeah.
It's
I don't know.
Yeah, I'd hope that the dudes you paid a lot of money for have good knowledge. Yeah. It's more and more. The more we learn about this situation with Sony and Bungie, the more this is just like an absolute fucking misfire from Sony buying this team, and like it's just so polar opposite of how Sony even operates. Like usually they work with a team in second party capacity, and then they acquire. I imagine Arrowhead is looking pretty juicy at the moment from Sony, and they're going, okay. You have proven yourself. We will now step to you with an offer. Because that's how it's always worked, right? So they were just like, Jim Ryan's out here throwing money around. I don't know, just get Bungie. I don't know. We like live service. Buzzword. So, oi. I don't know. It's looking rough out here for the homies on that end. Yeah. And from a position perspective, just to give you guys a bit of context as to who Hiroki Totoki is, sick name by the way, he is currently the Director, President, COO, and CFO, Representative Corporate Executive Officer of Sony Group Corporation.
Bro, he works so hard he's got 4 jobs.
Yeah,
what?
He is.
Wait, how can you be CFO and COO? How does that work?
I don't know. It says independent director, non-executive.
Okay.
So very confusing, but he's just got a laundry list of titles.
Jesus Christ! All right, man. Relax. Leave some jobs for the rest of us.
Also, literally, I'm reading his bio. It says in previous roles at Sony Corporation, he contributed to the launch of Sony Bank. That's where Jim Ryan's been going.
He's been using Totoki's money.
Crazy. But I didn't know this. Sony Bank is a Japanese commercial bank.
That is so wild.
It operates as a direct bank and has no physical branches or ATMs. It is one of the largest online banks in Japan. And is a subsidiary of Sony Financial Holdings.
Hey, you know what's also crazy?
Let's hear it.
The Crazy Taxi reboot. That is apparently going to be a AAA video game. All right, this is our next story.
He's done it.
It's a brief one, but apparently the reboot is going to be a AAA game. That slightly concerns me.
Yes.
What? When has Crazy Taxi ever been a AAA game? Like, to me, I don't know about you, but to me, Crazy Taxi always had, like, AA energy.
I agree.
Like what does AAA mean for Crazy Taxi?
Well, I mean, it makes sense when you've got the Ubisoft CEO calling Skull and Bones a quadruple A game.
Oh my god, we didn't even put Skull and Bones in here.
So, you know, for Sega to claim that Crazy Taxi's reboot is going to be AAA, that has to be when you've got Skull and Bones as a quadruple A title. We're just going up. We're just going up in rungs.
Yeah, I can't wait for my octuple fucking A video game, dude. It's just gonna be a rat running down a hallway. This feels like a term that's just being thrown around here. Like, I mean, if I hear it's open world now, so I guess that's what they mean by it's AAA, I suppose.
I do wonder what constitutes AAA. Is it just the budget put behind it? Like, is it...
But how much budget can you put behind Crazy Taxi? The formula is so, like, you know what I mean? Like, the formula is just you picking up someone and driving there someone quickly. That's the game.
This is true.
What could possibly constitute, like, more than a $2 million budget for this game?
Well, so there, I don't know if you saw this one, but it was posted on Insider Gaming that it, and here we go, another buzzword, Crazy Taxi will be live service with a 100-person survival mode.
No.
That's what's constituting the AAA-ness of it.
We are not live serving Crazy fucking Taxi. We are not. Why?
So that's where it's coming from.
Oh, that's horrific. That is. Holy. All right.
I mean, this was leaked by someone on Twitter called Midori, so they may have had a sip of too many. But yeah, apparently they put some pretty outlandish claims on social media, so who knows if it's going to be true or what that constitutes, but I guess we'll have to wait and see what comes out with any other news about this game.
That's right. Also in other news, so they're already talking about the next Xbox.
Yes.
I guess that's what happens when Sony also says that they're at the edge of the PlayStation 5's life.
Shareholder news. Shareholder quotes.
Oh, man. And let me tell you, this is one of the quotes of all time. They said that the next Xbox will be the largest technical leap, and water is still wet. So, yeah, no shit that the next Xbox will be a larger technical leap than the current Xbox. Man, as I'm getting older and we are still tapped into fucking gaming news and media, it's just like,
how many teraflops?
Like how many times like we're still doing this shit where we're like, oh, the next one is the most powerful compared to this one. It's like, yeah, that's how progress works. Like, oh boy, man.
How many teraflops though? That's a word that Microsoft love to throw around.
Hold on, let me hold on. How many teraflops is the Series X?
12.
Hold on, I bet I'll give you. It's 12 teraflop. I'll tell you what. I'll give you something. You ready for this? I'll give you 24. I'll give you 24 teraflops.
It's a nice word for the shareholders to walk away with.
Absolutely. I go, yeah, honey, I'm investing in Microsoft. She goes, oh, that's nice, sweetie. Why? And they go, the man said it's the next console's got 24 teraflops. She goes, what does that mean? And he goes, I don't know, but it's good.
Yep.
It's 24 of them. The last one was 12, honey. And she goes, that's nice, sweetie. Like,
average shaeraholder conversation.
Yeah, it really is, because they have no idea what the fuck is going on. Like, it's crazy, dude. Like,
these gamers are giving us money. It's unbelievable.
All right. Yeah. Well, what do you think about that? Do you think the next PlayStation's going to be the largest technical leap for PlayStation?
Oh, absolutely not.
Whoa! You think they're going back? We're going back to like PS2 era?
Well, I mean, if we only need to keep it running remasters and remakes, absolutely. We don't need to increase the computing power.
Holy shit, that's so true. I didn't even consider that.
It's these big brain plays.
Absolutely. All right. And now for my absolute favorite story of the month. Ladies and gentlemen, a new segment for the show of Game Lounge Podcast, the Gigachad of the Month Award, which I will be giving out to Larian Studios of Baldur's Gate 3 fame. Recently, the DICE Awards happened, and big fucking surprise, Baldur's Gate 3 won a lot of them, including Game of the Year. Yep. And we got one of the most Gigachad sentences ever said at a stage, where in the room is just a shit ton of business people who run these massive companies, right? Like, we're talking like the CEOs, the CFOs, the COOs of like all these huge, like EA, all that shit, right? Like these absolute losers of the industry. Okay? And my man, David Walgrave, who's the head of production at Larian Studios, gets up and he says, "We ask you to pay one price only for the game, and that's it. You can own it for the rest of your life. We don't have shareholders, but we also don't think about them," which is great, which is followed by another great sentence, which is, "We don't make decisions where we think this could make us the most money. In the long run, building a community, building a player base, building games that are actually fun is going to make you the most money. That's it." And then he just walked off. They just walked off the stage after that. And that's just the best shit ever to say to a boardroom of fucking capitalist losers. And I just love Larian's stance on this shit. And they are just a beacon of hope in the fucking gaming industry to just get in there and be like, yeah, man, you just like make a good game and you make money. Like, we made lots. Like, we made heaps from actually making a good game that you buy once and it's yours forever. There's no what
an insane concept.
Transaction. I know, what an insane concept. It's not always online. You can play it whenever you want. Holy shit. Who could have possibly imagined?
Unbelievable.
But what do you think about Gigachad of the month here? Like, I mean, like, how does it make you feel hope having people like this in our industry still, or what do you think about our man here?
It does give me hope. I just hope that this could be a recurring segment each month. I don't hold hope for that, but the gaming industry has very few Gigachads. This David Walgrave is now one of them. He enters the illustrious Hall of Fame.
The small pantheon of people who are in there.
Like, obviously, most and the big goal of corporations is to make money, but yeah, gamers in general are going to go to where things are fun and enjoyable, and it's similar to Helldivers and the mission statement that we were talking about before, where, you know, you're not asking and begging for more money with live service and monetization and that sort of thing. You just need to make a good product, and that's the thing. You will sell lots of units if you do so. Rockstar has been a proven method for this for the longest time for the gaming industry. Like, Larian, off the success of Baldur's Gate 3, have now seen that too. Like, it's not a difficult concept, realistically. I mean, obviously you've got suits going, yes, we'll make this game that's going to make us money. And it's like, if you're making a game that's got money at the forefront of your mind, sorry, Rocksteady and Suicide Squad, like, it's gonna flop. Like,
yeah, I couldn't agree more. And it's so true. Like, all these massive games that these suits want to make, they're trying to make a game for everybody, or like trying to force devs to make it. And like Arrowhead says, a game for everyone is a game for no one. It's so good. That's just one of the strongest mission statements I've ever seen from a game company. Like, and it's just perfect. It makes, like, these are the guys behind Magicka. They're from they made the remake of Gauntlet, Showdown Effect. Like, Magicka is not a game for everyone. You
No.
just destroy the shit out of each other most of the time. Like, people would find that frustrating. And guess what? That game is not for those people,
Mhm.
you know? And
That's it.
I feel like they just, yeah, like, it's these sentiments from, I mean, truly there should have been, there's 2 Gigachads, which is Arrowhead Studios and, you know, David Walgrave this month, which is rare. We've got 2 Gigachads sharing a month, to be honest. But
we've hit our quota for the year.
we've hit our quota for the year. It's been real. Thank you so much for peaking in February. Very excellent.
Absolutely. Well, I think that about wraps us up for this month with the Game Lounge podcast. Do you have any closing statements for us, Eenaa?
Just please, please buy physical media that you can keep. That is yours. That's it.
The game preservation expert at the helm. My one for closing statement is deja vu.
Oh,
Thank you everyone
excellent.
for listening. Until next time, we'll see you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.